So we have a new OCG Metagame report on Road to the King. We want to check this out because the OCG just had their huge ban list that really didn't do a whole lot, so I'm going to see what happened to the format. Hey everyone, this is Max at MaxCTCG. Thanks for joining me in another video. Since we were going over the OCG Metagame report, it's interesting to kind of see how things have maybe shaped up a little bit after their pretty large ban list in terms of changes, but not really a lot of substantive changes, which is the Snake Eye deck getting a slap on the wrist and the Fiendsmith kind of just filling that role for the most part, as well as Yubel being a really solid deck in the format. So you have OCG 2024.07 Metagame Report 0. It's going to be a Road to the King article, so I'll have that linked in the description and in the cards if you want to check this out. It says, welcome to week number 0 of the OCG 2024.07 format. This report tabulates 91 top performing decks with 21 tournaments that were held in Japan, China, mainland and South Korea during 25th through 30th of June 2024, played under the new OCG 2024.07 limit regulations. So we have the meta breakdown here. So for Yubel we have 16.5, for Snake Eye we have 14.3, for Rescue Ace we have 12.1, for Tenpai we have 8.8, and for Fire King we have 5.5, Centurion 3.3, Labyrinth 3.3, and then 36.3% other. We look at the week before the ban list. We saw Yubel at 17.1 versus the 16.5, so just a small drop there, but still the most represented deck. Snake Eye at 16.6, Snake Eye at 14.3, so again drop there. We really aren't seeing any Tenpai, and we're seeing a huge increase in Rescue Ace. So that was 3.2 before the ban list, now at 12.1, so that's really big. Tenpai 8.8. Pretty big drop here from 15, so much larger drop now, no longer the third most represented deck. And then we have Fire King 5.5. I don't think we saw that at 3.2, and then we have Centurion 3.3. See that anywhere? No, it must be probably in other at this point. And then Labyrinth at 3.3, and again not on this list at this point either, so 3.3. But these smaller 3.3 percentages, even the 5 percentage isn't as much. We're kind of looking at these kind of three main decks that are a lot closer, and then even Tenpai kind of falling off at this point to a degree. So we have 15 Fiendsmith Yubels, 13 Snake Eye, 11 Fiendsmith Snake Eye, 2 regular Snake Eye. We have 11 Rescue Ace, 8 Fiendsmith Sinful Spoils Snake Eye Rescue Ace, and 3 Fiendsmith Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace. Only difference here probably just being the use of Bonfire to search Poplar to kind of get to your Hydrant and start making plays and everything. Then we have 8 Tenpai Dragons, we have 5 Fiendsmith Sinful Spoils Snake Eye Rescue Fire King, and then we have 3 Centurion, 2 Centurion, 1 Tenpai Dragon Centurion. Interesting. And then 3 Labyrinth, 2 Labyrinth, and 1 Fiendsmith Labyrinth. And then 2 branded, Fiendsmith Unchained, Gimmick Puppet, Memento, Ritual Beast, Runic, Spiral, Voiceless Voice, all at 2. And then we kind of just start getting into the one-ofs here. Let's see if anything kind of stands out. Bestial Synchro sounds pretty cool. Centurion Dragonling also sounds pretty interesting. Fiendsmith Magical Musket, remember that being one we thought would do pretty well. But, some Horus cards, Melodious, Millennium, Ragnarika, which is interesting with having, Maxi, but nothing too crazy here for the one-ofs. Verniself, Adamantipator, interesting there, I guess. So some interesting cards here if you want to check these out. Hey everyone, this is Editing Max. If you're enjoying the content, hit that thumbs up button, give the video a like, and leave a comment if you have any discussions you want to start, and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to see more of this type of content. Everyone, thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy, and we'll get back into it. So for the number 1 play deck in the meta right now, we have Yubel. It says, untouched by the new OCG 2024.07 limit regulation, Fiendsmith Yubel continues to be one of the top contenders in the new format. As Droll and Lockbird continues to see heavy play, 2 Dark Beckoning Beasts, 1 Chaos Summoning Beast, and 3 Opening of the Spirit Gates remains a popular ratio to run. Some players even trim Dark Beckoning Beast just to 1 to minimize the impact of Droll. Dustin went 7-0 excluding 1 bye and finished first in the Rionin Cup 3v3 tournament, which had 26 teams, 78 participants. So we kind of look at the deck, the 2, one version of the Yubel, the Spirit of You, or regular Yubel, and then 2 Spirit Yubels. I think it seems to be a pretty common ratio with the new Phantom Yubel coming out. We have the Unchained package in here, Fiendsmith in here makes sense. I think it could make sense to see Dark Beckoning Beast go to 1. It's a really good starter, but also with the Fiendsmith engine, I don't think you necessarily need multiple of it now. And the main thing you want to open up is Gates, because Gates can be an extender, but it can also be, a way to start your plays, Beckoning Beast if you're also running the Chaos Beast. So that's good to know. We have the Lotus. You can see we're moving back to more Squirmer. I think that can make sense too. If you're cutting Beckoning Beast down, just get another extender out to make plays, which is nice. And we're seeing Droll coming into the main deck. I think we'll see this at our NAWCQs, which is the impact of Fiendsmith in the format, just a way to kind of stop them from making plays, not allowing them to go into their other engines, like we talked about with Snake Eye and the Yubel decks being able to utilize Snake Eye to get, or utilize the Fiendsmith cards to get to their actual deck's engines, which is really cool that they can do that, but also terrifying at the same time. Then we see them still rocking a good amount of hand traps here. 1 Nib, 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Maxi, 2 Droll, and then 3 Imperm. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So at least 50% chance to open up 2 hand traps, which I think is probably about what the Yubel deck can afford to do, but also good ways to play through hand traps with the new fusion, and just the boards they make I think are pretty hard to play through. And then the Fiendsmith cards just kind of add on to that. I really do think this is going to probably be the kind of one of the best decks during the NAWCQ, but probably after that format where we're going to see Snake Eye get hit in the TCG, probably in a way that's more severe than what the OCG has done with their kind of more, hitting consistency. I think this is going to be the best deck, because I don't know if we're really going to see any hits to this, because this is a lot newer than Snake Eye. So I could see this lasting a lot longer, and it's also kind of anime kind of focused deck, so I can see that maybe giving it a little bit of life into the meta as well. So I'm going to kind of have to see what happens with this deck, but I think this really makes sense, and I do think the Droll Knopper is something we're going to see as well. In terms of the extra deck, just the 1 Lacrimosa, the 2 Phantom Yubels, and we have the Chaos Angel, which is cool that they can go into this and like the, Lotus or Squirmer with the fusion. So there's ways you can do this also with the Chaos Summoning Beast. So ways you can make Chaos Angel, which is pretty cool. So even though it's not a 10 to go into their really strong rank 10, they get to go into Chaos Angel, which is a really cool play. You got the Caesar, which is probably also why we're not seeing a lot of Nib, but there is an option for it. You also have the Called and Crossout, so maybe also the Crossout's a Nib target for that mostly too. Okay, I see we had the Almirage to be able to kind of make plays with the Beckoning Beast, just standard Fiendsmith kind of ratio. The Newling 2 that we did get confirmed in the TCG for the NAWCQ, and then just kind of standard Muckraker, Unchained package with SB. So very, I think, standard extra deck, and I think this is what ours are really going to look like too. And then for the side deck, we have 3 more Nibiru. So interesting they're playing this, because I thought we'd see maybe this fall off more, since we do have the access to go into Caesar very easily for any deck, but if you do pair it with multiple hand traps, that could still be good. But from what I've seen, a lot of players talking about with the Fiendsmith cards and other engines, sometimes even 2 hand traps isn't enough, since if you double hand trap like Snake Eye, for example, they can just link those 2 bodies into the generic light Fiend Link 2, and then use that to go into full Fiendsmith combo. Still on an Appaloosa, you can on a Caesar, you can on a Beatrice, you can do quite a few things. You just go for the fusion, like the high level fusion, if you want to play that for Fiendsmith to negate board breakers. So some interesting stuff here. They're not playing that, but probably just not intending to go that route. 3 Ghost Ogre, which I think can still make sense in the format. It's a pretty solid card. Again, good against Tenpai, which maybe makes sense aside since it didn't do as well overall, but still want something to use, and good against a good amount of other matchups as well. And then you then have the Ghost Bells, and that makes sense as a way to stop different parts of the deck. Also, Bystials can be pretty good against the Fiendsmith cards as well. And then the third Droll, 3 Cosmic and 1 Twin Twister. And then we are playing, the ability to kind of do the burn damage search card here. So we're doing the Trickstar card that could be sent off Beatrice. That could then, when you burn with the Lacrimosa, can either set the Point of the Red Lotus, which is banned for us, or this card, which is the Black Goat Laughs, letting you have some interruptions going first. I think Cosmic makes sense in this type of deck because you're not playing a lot of going first cards. So the nice thing is Cosmic can be a going first card or going second depending on the matchup, which is nice. And then you also have the 3 kind of siding an option for going first as well. So since we're not playing like any floodgates, I think Cosmic kind of makes sense as a generic good one. But then you also have these as well. So I think this deck looks really solid, and I think a lot of our decks are going to look pretty similar to this, honestly. So next we have Snake Eye. Snake Eye has been further weakened by the OCG 2024.07 limit regulation. Snake Eye Ash became limited, and Bonfire also became semi-limited. The common changes is increase of Snake Eye Poplar from 2 to 3 as a replacement for losing 1 of the Snake Eye Ash. The deck is more reliant on using Fiendsmith combo to access the Snake Eye cards by using Beatrice, Lady of the Eternals effect to send Snake Eye Ash from deck to grave, then reviving it with Promethean Princess's effect. Dango Mushi went 8-1 and finished first in the first Otsunomiya CS, which had 62 participants. I apologize if I pronounced any of that wrong, which I probably did. So we're kind of going to see how this deck is laying out, maximizing on starters with Black Witch makes sense, the DFL star. We have the 3, Poplar to kind of make up for consistency. Ash, going to 1, I think is a pretty big hit. We can talk about that. Fiendsmith Engine for more consistency. They're running more of the spell card as well for kind of ways to get to different plays and starters. And then just lots of hand traps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 hand traps here with Call By and the Crossout to try to play through them. In terms of starters, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and I believe these 2 are starters, even though it's generally better to get to the Fiendsmith card. So makes sense here. I think one of the big hits for this deck, when we're just looking at the main deck, is Droll. One way that you can really hurt Snake Eye from a consistency hit is when you just limit enough of the cards the deck's not consistent enough. But we've seen they've kind of overcome this with the Fiendsmith package. And I think if the Fiendsmith package wasn't in the game, I think these consistency hits probably would have been enough to really hurt the deck. You just wouldn't have had enough starters. If you just look at what they have without that, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we have, 8, 9, 10. So 10 gets on the lower side, still playable, but definitely not as good, especially in such a hand trappy format. You probably would just get killed by hand traps constantly. Fiendsmith package really helps with that. But I think the one weakness you're seeing here is because they have to use the Fiendsmith package to get to Snake Eye plays a lot. Droll is going to be a huge upset against that type of strategy. So they won't be able to get their plays going if you Droll them, and they can't really use Snake Eye Ash to get Poplar's effect off. So I think it's a big thing. Again, we're playing the Call By and Crossouts for hand traps. Makes sense, especially how weak you are to Droll. And main decking Droll, again, I think is going to be something we're going to see. So definitely makes sense in terms of how the deck's built. I think it's built solid for what they have. But I do think maybe that weakness to Droll can be a really big hindrance for this type of strategy. And even when you pair Droll with other hand traps, it's not terrible either, because it does stop some of their plays, and you potentially stop them from extending. When you Droll them, it's also going to hurt the Fiendsmith Engine some too. So in terms of the extra deck, we have the Lacrimosa, the other dies area for negating board breakers, which can be good. Beatrice makes sense. Everything else looks pretty standard here in terms of, what they're playing. Nothing really stands out, honestly. So very solid looking extra deck, probably what we would see as well. And then for the side deck, you have 2 Nibiru. We're playing the Delta package, which I think is cool. I know we've definitely seen that in the past. I'm kind of surprised. I don't think I've seen this in the OCG much, but definitely could be a good way to stop starter cards, which can be solid. Dramatic Chase, another card they can go into, as well as the Trap card. Kind of surprised they're side decking both of these. I'm not exactly sure why overall, but I guess more ways to get to which. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like maybe this feels a little off. I'm not sure why they'd be doing that. If you have any thoughts on that, let me know. And then we're just playing a slew of floodgates since everything's been hit to 1. Like 1 anti-spell, 1 Dark Melee 1, and probably for Yubel, 1 summon limit, 1 skill drain. This is the one bad thing when they're at 1. You just play 3 of, technically 4, but 3 of the limited ones instead of 3 of one really good one like summon limit, which is we're seeing a lot of triple skill drain in the TCG. So hopefully we'll see at least this go to 1. It's better it's at 1 since you can't play a ton of them. But again, we're seeing Floodgate sided in, and then the rollback, which you don't have as well. So definitely interesting. We're not seeing the package that we saw in Yubel with the Trickstar card and the searching kind of your going first cards. And maybe we would have seen that if they take out these two, but again, this can stop board breakers as well. So definitely an interesting approach. And the Gamma package with side frames and everything and Delta does take up more spots since you have to slide the driver. So I'm sure we'll probably see some Snake Eye decks in the TCG playing kind of this package idea for going first. But it looks like a very standard, very solid looking Snake Eye deck. And I think you definitely get some inspiration for this for the TCG as well. And we'll have even better ratios with the fact that none of our stuff's hit yet. All right, next we have Rescue Ace. So Rescue Ace has also adopted the Fiendsmith package and as their core build. Similar to Snake Eye, the Fiendsmith combo could access the Rescue Ace cards by using Beatrice, Lady of the Eternals, effect to send Rescue Ace Hydrant from deck to grave, and then reviving with Promethean Princess of Flames since the Fiendsmith combo doesn't use up the normal summon. Rescue Ace Hydrant's effect can be used to search for Rescue Ace Airlifter, which can then be normal summoned. Rescue Ace Hydrant by itself is also a starter now as it can go Fiendsmith combo. You normal summon Hydrant, use its effect to get Preventer from deck. Use Rescue Ace Hydrant to link it to Link Rebuild, then special summon out Preventer by banishing the Hydrant from the grave. Use Link Rebuild and the Rescue Ace Preventer to link summon Moon of the Close Sky Heaven, and the Rescue Ace Preventer triggers the effect with special summon Hydrant from the banish. Fiendsmith combo is to go into Beatrice and send Rescue Ace Turbines from deck to grave, and then you revive the Promethean Princess with its effect, and you have Hydrant and the Turbulence, and you kind of got your combo there. So definitely really interesting, kind of similar to what Snake Eye is doing since they've had some of their cards limited as well. So interesting they're doing this. I think this was a deck that did very solid in the OCG, and I think having to rely on Fiendsmith combo doesn't make it as good into Max C or cards like that. But the deck I think is decently solid into Droll. So maybe that's a reason why we're seeing this deck do pretty good. All you really need to do is just, if you can get, Hydrant into Turbulence and be able to make a play that way, you can then just, set your 4 cards and not really worry about anything. So that's good, but Emergency was hit to 1, so it's kind of their quick play ability to kind of get to that. If you're using, the level 4 monster to search, I think you'll get hit by Droll there to an extent. But again, it just kind of depends on their hand and what they have set up. But I do think this deck has somewhat of a chance to play through Droll, but we're kind of looking at the ways they're going to start their plays. I think we are going to see some issues when it comes to kind of getting those plays going. But overall, it seems like a pretty standard deck here. Hand trap wise, playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And that's about it. Only 9 hand traps, crossouts, and callbys are common. We're seeing talents in the in here as well, which could be interesting for crossout and also going first. I think one issue we've always seen with Rescue Ace is even when it was at the height during the TCG, it couldn't play as many hand traps. They had to play kind of all these searchable, trap cards and spell cards that they want to play, which does take up space, which is kind of one of the issues with this type of deck. So I think that's what we're kind of seeing here as well. But overall, is doing really well in the OCG, and I think just its ability to kind of play with all these cards can make it really good when you get into these kind of grindier games. So I think that makes a lot of sense. But definitely doesn't play around I think Droll as much now, especially with the limits of Emergency and everything. Relying on Bonfire for Poplar is going to play into Droll, or I think even the normal summon starter, I think that plays into Droll. So there's definitely some issues here when it comes to that. And then extra deck wise, I think pretty standard. Nothing really looks out of the ordinary for this. And then for the side deck, we're seeing 3 Nibiru, Phantasme. We're playing Ogre, Bell, 2 Cosmics, Duster, Heavy Storm, 1 of the other trap cards, and then the Dice Area. So Dice Area can be a way to maybe negate board breakers if you see your opponent going that approach. I think that can make sense if you just don't have the space. It is a really good option in the deck for Fiendsmith. I'm surprised we're seeing as much Nibiru being played with the option for Caesar being an option. We also don't see Nibiru played as much as well. But with all the hand traps we're seeing, I guess it can make sense. Could work well Phantasme if you're dropping this later, to make plays, potentially draw into it. And I think, they also have the Heavy Storms and the Cosmic Cyclone and Duster. So, Phantasme is good when you have more board breaker approaches. So a lot of times in these type of strategies, you want to stop them early, letting them play and then phantasming into hand traps, that's good. And with Ogre also being kind of a board breaker potential card, you can look at it that way. Good against Tenpai and other decks, and Bell is kind of more of a late game starting card to kind of stop them, which can be good, or potential kind of, I won't say it's play a board breaker, but another card you can play if you draw going second to stop like the Princess from summoning out. So definitely some interesting uses here, and it'll be interesting to see if maybe we see Rescue Ace do more here like it did in the OCG. I don't think that's going to be the case, especially during the NAWCQ, because of Snake Eye being at full power of Fiendsmith and Yubel being really good. But who knows, maybe we'll see someone do well at one of the national tournaments in Europe or America with Rescue Ace still. Hey everyone, this is Editing Max. If you're enjoying the content and you want to support the channel, you can check out the TCG affiliate link in the description below. It supports the channel and costs you nothing, and you'll just be doing the same thing you normally do when you buy cards from TCG Player. If you're new to buying cards from TCG Player, check out my website. I have a section on it that helps out new people, kind of explaining some of the aspects of TCG Player, so that way you can get the most out of your money and you don't fall into some of these weird things that some people do to push up the price of cards. If you want to become a patron on the channel, check out my Patreon. It's another way you can help support the channel. We have different perks you can check out, like a lot of archetype proxies you see on the screen. Every week, I put a new one out that everyone on the channel can vote on YouTube, and then these go to Patreon for you to print out. You can also join for early access. Some videos will be 1 day early access, others that are in a longer series could be weeks out in advance, and you can get the entire thing at once, while everyone on YouTube has to wait week by week for all the videos to come out. You can also join for an exclusive Yu-Gi-Oh! Reaction series where I watch through the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. We have discussions in the comments and watch through it together as well. Plus, there are other perks coming out in the future. Everyone, thanks again for watching the content. And then we have Tenpai Dragon. So Tenpai has been severely weakened with Sangan Summoning becoming limited, causing them to fall off significantly. The Duke of Demise is a new fusion monster from Animation Chronicle 2024 and widens the coverage of super polymerization in the current format. The Duke of Demise uses 2 fiends and or 2 zombies as fusion material and is suitable against Fiendsmith Yubel, making super polymerization a removal for fiend of different attributes such as Unchained Soul of Rage, DDD Highway King Caesar, and Fiendsmith Dies Aria. Interestingly, the Duke of Demise effect might be relevant for Tenpai Dragon. The additional normal summon makes it possible to normal summon both Tenpai Bedora or Dora Draco on the same turn. Lightning Storm in the main deck is a good medical against Rescue Ace. So Makoto went 8-1 and finished first in the 15th Dark Law CS, which had 60 participants. So pretty standard, I think, what we're seeing here for Tenpai in terms of their starters, the 2 Rengoku and the 2 Dora Draco. Kind of just more stars without clumping up on too many of the same ones. Really good kind of way to get more of the Tenpai cards that you want. Again, they limited the field spell, which is kind of their main way of making plays and being able to play through hand traps. So I think that's good that we're seeing that. And again, just a ton of hand traps. I think Shifter makes sense as a deck that could utilize this and really kind of hurt some of the Yubel deck and the Snake Eye deck. I think hurting Snake Eye way more. Bisteel being good as a way to get their own cards going second. So Magnamut can be a hand trap that you can use going first, but then also get to your starting plays, by searching one of your Tenpai Dragons that you need. And then we just see a lot of hand traps and then board breakers. Let's see how we got here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 hand traps, with Super Poly and Lightning Storm being 2 of board breakers, as well as the 1 pot of Prosperity for consistency and to be able to get to those board breakers. And then I do like how they have the Duke of Demise. I think that's a cool card for being able to counter Fiendsmith or other decks. It's a nice way to be able to hit multiple fiends in a way you couldn't hit like the Unchained deck before with the combo it used. And now with Yubel using it, like they said, that gives you a way to hit those decks, which can be pretty good. And then the extra normal summon can be nice depending on, if you have multiple normal summons you want to be able to use to trigger effects and get going. Also, that could be nice if they try to stop it. I think the mentioning of Lightning Storm is a really smart medical if they knew Rescue Ace was going to, be gaining popularity or was already gaining some popularity from maybe local tournaments or other things like that. I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think this is really good in this deck specifically because of the fact that you don't want to get stopped by a lot of floodgates or other cards. You just blow out their back row and you OTK them. It comes to the extra deck, you're seeing Super Poly Targus with Mudragon Garua and the new Zombie Fusion, the Duke of Demise, pretty standard looking Tenpai deck here with the, I think the Iron Golem guy for the Yubel deck. I can't remember his name, but the Stealth Samurai guy there. And then, everything's looking pretty standard for this. In terms of extra, seeing 1 Nibiru being cited in, 2 Phantasme, and Droll or Bell. And we see Troll in the main, and then we're seeing 3 droplets, 2 Change of Hearts, 3 Cosmic Cyclone, 1 Duster, and the Red Reboot. I think in this case I like the Cosmic because it can be good going first, as well as Drop is good for second. I like Lightning Storm over Cosmic for this type of deck because you want to just get rid of all the back row, not just one. But if you want a way to deal with back row, now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 copies of ways to deal with back row, which is still pretty nice. So I think if you want something for going first, I think Cosmic makes sense. But if you're just trying to go for back row removal, I think you probably should just stick to Lightning Storm with this type of deck. I think it benefits from this card more. The overall, very interesting looking Tenpai deck. I think it looks pretty similar. I feel like maybe all the board breakers might be much, but you're also playing so many hand traps. I don't know what else you'd play really. So I think it makes sense for what they're playing. So for the conclusion, the preliminary week of the OCG 2024.07 format is fairly similar to the previous format. Yubel, Snakeye, and Tenpai remain among the top contenders, and Rescue Ace is seeing a resurgence. Fiendsmith has an overwhelming presence in the metagame. 50 out of 91 decks at top. This weekend we're running the Fiendsmith package. The top percentile decks, Yubel, Snakeye, and Rescue Ace, and Fire King are mostly running Fiendsmith packages. However, as the Japan Championship 2024 and Asia WCQ 2024 are coming up, some players have chosen to withhold their deck list, so we may not have the full picture of the new format. If you enjoy these weekly metagame reports, consider supporting the Road to the King Patreon. Yeah, definitely check them out, guys, if you like what they're doing. It gives us a really good insight into the kind of OCG format and what's happening to let us kind of look forward. Everyone, that is it for the OCG Metagame report after the ban list. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I think Rescue Ace was the most surprising. I don't see that happening here. I think that's more of an OCG thing personally, but maybe we'll see a couple or like 1 or 2. But I think we're really going to see Snakeye and then Yubel, with Yubel probably being the longer lasting deck with it being newer after the ban list, after kind of Worlds. And we see the dominance of Snakeye there, which makes sense. I didn't think they were going to hit the Snakeye deck probably before Worlds because the OCG and TCG tend to hit decks differently. So if you hit the Snakeye deck with a bunch of consistency hits and then the TCG hits it with a major ban, I think that might kill the deck for Worlds. And I feel like that was probably going to be the Worlds deck to beat most likely. So I think it makes sense that they're waiting in the TCG to do it after. But I think that means Yubel will be probably the best deck. Let me know what you guys think. Is there anything interesting in this report you didn't expect? Do you think any of these decks will become really good like Rescue Ace in the TCG? Again, I don't think so, but I look forward to hearing from you guys and seeing what you think.